Hello, my name is Casilda Angulo. I'm a vice president at Forgepoint Capital. We're a cybersecurity-focused venture capital firm based out of California. Excited to be here. I'm originally from Bilbao, but I grew up in Madrid. Funny thing, my husband now claims my Basque heritage, and he built a Basque cheesecake business out of the Bay Area, which is incredibly successful. To be honest, I've always been a very creative person. I've always enjoyed arts and crafts, cooking. So if anything, I would have thought that I would have been drawn to marketing, never finance. But then, I think it was my junior year at college, I met with this corporate finance professor who kind of was an inspiration to me. And he was the one who pushed me, I think you'll be a great fit for investment banking. And I was like, I think that's an interesting one because the mindset of European countries, the UK, and the US is very different when it comes to founding companies, investing, or being an entrepreneur. I think, in the US, people are rewarded for being bold, for taking risks, no matter what. You're allowed to fail, and it's never too late to go too big. And I think that mentality works very well when you're an entrepreneur, because you're encouraging people to build things without afraid of failing. But at the other side, European mentality is a little bit more conservative. It's a bit more focused on having the right tools to build one step at a time, being very cautious. And I think combining these two things, the boldness and the not being afraid to fail, with a more of a conservative approach to things makes a good investor. But I like to have that little American mentality of, not afraid to fail and taking risks. And having a little bit of that combined with a more conservative approach, I think it's a great combination for an investor in the venture capital space. It's been a fun one and not an easy one, but I think there's three things that I would highlight. The first one, kind of ability to gain people's trust, and one is my team's trust, because when we invest collectively as a whole team, and we make good choices, bad choices, but the ability to gain my team's trust was one, and also the trust from the entrepreneurs. When you're investing in a company, you need to build that relationship so they can take your advice, they can accept your suggestions, and so on. So I think I've been very intentional about building this trust with both my team and the entrepreneurs, so that helped me set up for this path and this promotion. The other hand is ability to build relationships. And I know this sounds like, everyone needs to know how to build relationships, but in this specific area or sector is very important, because you never know when that person that you met is going to turn out into a founder, or is going to help another of your portfolio companies, is going to become a customer of your portfolio company. So that ability to build relationships with no intention, you don't really know what's going to turn out of them. But I think that social ability is very important. And then the third one, it's kind of understanding what your superpower is. And when you're going to go and help companies as an investor, you need to know what you're going to bring to the table for these companies. Am I going to help them fundraise? Or am I going to help them hiring? Or where can I be most useful to these companies? And understanding and learning what your superpower is from the beginning, so you can boost it, you can nurture it and work around it, I think also makes you stand out. I think we are very humble in Spain, and we sometimes feel very overwhelmed by Silicon Valley, and everyone's talking with these founders that, again, to my first point, are really good at communicating. But we as Spaniards and all the founders that I've met from Spain are incredible technologists, and the technical talent that we have in Spain is amazing. And having the ability to bridge that communication and build that confidence that we might be as good as someone who grew up here in Palo Alto. It's just that the way they communicated and the way they're used to engaging with investors, it's different. And we don't get that training in Spain. So I think one way of bridging that gap is making sure people that want to build something and want to have that Californian connection can connect with Spaniards that are here, people, hires they could do here, junior, and so on. So having the Chamber of Commerce as the place for these startups to go, and where the Chamber of Commerce has access to these resources, and then they can tap into different people and networks, I think will be really helpful, and happy to brainstorm about how that program should look like. I think it's a very sexy industry these days. Everyone talks about the large venture capital firms. Everyone wants to be, investing in the coolest companies. But it's also a very tough environment because sometimes you bet on winners and sometimes there's companies that take a longer route for success, and you need to support them all the way, and you need to go through the ups and the lows. So one of the things that I would recommend people is making sure you're intentional about what do you think you can bring to the table in venture capital. Are you really good at financial structuring deals? That's great. If that's your skill, then you should start looking at firms that are maybe later stage and try to nurture those skills so you can be a great fit. If you want to be able to bring operational experience, then go out there, work at a startup, get that operational experience, and then when you go on to work for a venture capital firm, you can actually use those skills to help these guys building and scaling up and help all these founders onto the next phase of growth. So I think it's very important to be intentional about what you're going to be bringing to the table. Otherwise, you end up in an industry that is highly competitive, that it's very difficult to learn that pattern recognition if you don't have experience. But if you can identify one or two things that you're good at, and you can use that as your value proposition, then it's going to make you succeed and it's going to make you stand out as an investor. And then you can start to learn that pattern recognition of identifying, the key traits from a founder that makes it successful, or identifying which things usually make them fail at the beginning, or which elements of a team are very relevant. And I think people just go into venture capital thinking it's going to be a very cool spot and a lot of fun. And I think you have to be intentional about what you want to bring and how you want to develop as an investor. There's multiple types of investors coming from different experiences. So being very thoughtful about that and speaking with a lot of people from the industry before, I think that's helpful.